Hey, welcome everybody. Coach BK here with BK Coaching and R&B Do Nutrition. So today is going to be a short, kind of broad brushstroke talk about fats. So fats are really important. Fats have kind of gotten a bad rap in the last 10, 20 years. We've had low fat diets, low salt diets, etc., etc. The thing with fats is I'm going to kind of educate you on what they're actually doing, how the body works, and then so we can kind of understand that we do need fat and why. We need the correct balance of fats. We need clean fats, what that means, and just give you kind of a general view of why fats are important. And then we're going to have a further discussion maybe in a month or two on how this low fat kind of trend is really hurting our health, especially if we're talking about hormonal health. So anyway, just a real quick kind of overview of the facts about fat. Okay, so starting off the conversation, there's two types of nutrients: micronutrients and macronutrients. Micronutrients are the small tiny little things that we get from our foods, and that's not just plants, it's just everything. Micronutrients, kind of like the oil in the car, vitamin A, vitamin B, all of this stuff, beta carotene, micronutrients, tiny nutrients that do different things, turn things on, turn things off, etc., etc. For endurance athletes, sodium causes things to contract, magnesium causes things to relax. Very general. Micronutrients. Macronutrients are your fat, carbs, protein, kind of like the gas that you put in the car. So to allow things like in this day to do stuff, while your oil, your micronutrients, keep things running smooth, rebuilding, etc. So understanding that will help us to understand that we might need to pay attention to the amount of macronutrients, our fats, carbs, proteins, the percentages, etc. But we also do need to be mindful of nutrient-dense foods, the micronutrients. Okay, studies have been showing that low-fat diets are harmful, and we wrote up an article regarding healthy fats for excellent health and better running. So you could look and find the studies that are showing that low-fat diets might not be that healthy and actually can cause hormonal health issues, etc., etc. So super important, this world of fats. And just in case you didn't know, hormones are made from fat and cholesterol. So if you're on a statin drug to lower your cholesterol, you might, as an effect, have hormonal issues. Anyway, interesting. I don't want to steal the thunder on this hormonal talk that's coming, but hormone just doesn't mean PMS. Everything that we do, from being cold, from waking up, having energy, etc., etc., all of that is governed by hormones. Okay, shifting back to fats again. So there are two types of fats. Okay, saturated fats and unsaturated fats. We're going to touch very specifically at the end of this talk about saturated fats. They're not bad. Again, we just need to understand where to get them from a cleaner source and have the appropriate balance of them. Okay? Saturated fats are like your butter, coconut oil, things that are solid at room temperature. And then your unsaturated fats come in two forms: mono unsaturated fat and poly unsaturated fat. So your mono unsaturated fats are like coconut oil, olive oil. Poly unsaturated fats are like flaxseed, walnuts, salmon. Okay, so that's kind of like the nitty-gritty nuts and bolts of that. All fats are made of fatty acids, so think about chains of fatty acids, chains of components, and they come in different lengths. So we have the three types of lengths of fatty acids are short chain, medium chain, and long chain. Again, this is how your body is designed. There is not the short chain, the medium chain, and the long chain. One of them is bad and the others are good. It's not like that. The body is designed to utilize all of these. And once we kind of understand that and get the correct balance of them, that's when we will see the shifts in our health, and then as well as our athletic performance. The metabolic efficiency words, the fat adapted words, etc., etc. Words also going into like insulin resistance, diabetes. All of that comes down to how well we produce energy from the foods that we eat, how our body is able to break down our food and utilize the food to create energy. That's all of this stuff. But our body is super awesome, and it has mechanisms to use things short term or use things long term. Okay, so they're all needed, and so the fatty acids are the basic building blocks of body fat. We do need body fat, especially females. Females are geared more for breeding other human beings, making babies, and the fats are very important for being able to do that. Thus why we are geared more to carrying a little bit of fat, because we make babies. It's just how your body is designed. And so, and also fatty acids, all components building the body's hormones and stuff. So again, think of hormones as regulating everything. Your mental health, if you're hot and cold, your temperature regulation, bone health, all of this stuff. Okay, so let's get into the 3 different links of fatty acids a little bit more in depth. I'm going to read some of these things. Short chain, medium chain, long chain is what we're talking about. So short chain, this is, your body is really designed to utilize this well, quick, immediate, okay? So short chain fatty acids, your body actually makes these in the GI from the breakdown of fiber. Animals and humans do both of this, okay? So the short chain enters the bloodstream directly from the GI system, meaning there's not a lot of effort in making energy when you're getting it from short chain fatty acids. Think about fatty acids floating around in the bloodstream. You either have a stress response and your body needs glycogen quick in order to run from that saber-toothed tiger that's going to eat you, or your brain needs to function well in a meeting that's high stress. All of that activity requires very readily available sugar for the cells to either run or think, okay? So short chain, medium chain, you can absorb it directly from your GI tract into your bloodstream where it's available for either the stress response to have energy to do what it needs to do, or for athletes training in zone 4, etc. So this is where we kind of get into and we'll talk about this more later, where we get into kind of a rub when your system's not working right. Maybe you're stuck in a little bit of insulin resistance and that whole system isn't working right, but you're trying to become fat adapted, and the idea of burning more fat for fuel. We have to do this with the foundation principles in mind in order to help the body to do that instead of kind of forcing it. But that's another topic. So this is a fun fact. Cows that eat grass, this is why you hear this term grass-fed cows is more important, cleaner, whatever. So the cows that eat grass fiber produce more short chain fatty acids, and so when you're eating the cows that have eaten the grass, they have more short chain fatty acids available. So that's why, partly why they're saying that grass-fed cows are more healthy. Also, they're eating less processed stuff, so they're less toxic, if you want to think about it like that. And then also they would have more micronutrients because they're eating more nutrient-dense food, so they are in and of themselves going to have more nutrients within them. Okay, so that's why they're saying that grass-fed cows as well as butter is a healthier choice. Short chain fatty acids are the preferred food for the colon in the brain. So if you were thinking about getting out of that fog, you know, in your second gut and stuff like that, your brain wants short chain fatty acid. It's quick. Your brain is constantly doing stuff. And might be a little bit why when we are either low carbing it or not eating right, we wake up at night because our brain is hungry. It's trying to do things, and it wakes us up with their stress response because it feels like it's starving. Okay, so that's kind of an interesting side thought. They say, and again, the links support this at the bottom of the article that supports this video. I will put the link in the video notes. Short chain fatty acids are important for healing leaky gut, which is very interesting. And some studies are showing that some forms of short chain fatty acids are helping to decrease insulin resistance in the brain, and they're thinking that that might have a positive impact in Alzheimer's. So short chain are really good, how your body is geared to kind of readily absorb fuel, energy. Medium chain are very similar to short chain. The difference in long chain is that long chain fatty acids get packaged up and stored for later use. You know, we didn't always live in a calorie abundant world. Sometimes, you know, like the bears and stuff like that, they didn't always have food. So they would have the ability to store some of their fuel, store some of the food for later use in the fat, right? Okay, so that's long chain fatty acids. It's very interesting that long chain fatty acids aren't as accessible to us, and the process isn't as efficient as short chain and medium chain. So if you're an endurance athlete and maybe, you know, your system of producing energy isn't optimal, you'll have a hard time pulling energy from your fat, and I suspect that this is part of the bonking idea. Okay. Okay, we need to talk about long chain fatty acids. They have a section of them, a group of them called essential fatty acids, meaning we can't produce those ourselves. We have to ingest them in our nutrition, in our diet. And so what are we talking about? Essential fatty acids. We're talking about omega-6, omega-3. These we have to eat, okay? And it's very, very, very important to have the right balance of these. So we talk about omega-6, we talk about omega-3. One's not better than the other. It's the ratio that's important. So we need to have a ratio of about 4:1, omega-6 to omega-3. However, our standard diet is very heavy on omega-6s, which becomes inflammatory. And so they say that the average diet is about 20:1 instead of 4:1. So again, omega-6, omega-3, they're not good or bad in and of themselves. It's the ratio that's important. And this is generally true for a lot of health aspects, like the estrogen and progesterone and hormones and stuff. It's not by itself one. The ratio is important, okay? So omega-3, like from fatty fish, and then omega-6 you get from other sources. So the best sources of dietary fats would be wild-caught fish, pasture-raised eggs, grass-fed beef we've talked about, extra virgin olive oil, cold-pressed unrefined coconut oil, organic avocados, raw soaked nuts and seeds, grass-fed butter, and full-fat cheese and yogurt. Okay, so I hope you're kind of getting empowered to include fat into your diet. It's very important. Your brain's mostly fat and water, and it needs fat. It needs those short chain fatty acids. But again, it's all in balance, and we need to work to get our nutrients from clean sources. Okay, so want to talk a bit about saturated fats. Saturated fats have really gotten kind of a bad rap. And again, if you want to go to the article that we've written, you'll see kind of documentations and sources cited where this information is coming from. So saturated fats aren't bad. They might be bad if they come from very processed, highly processed, and too much of them. So everything in balance and moderation. Saturated fats like grass-fed beef is a very good source of micronutrients, macronutrients, and it's not that hard anymore to get clean sources of grass-fed beef. So if you're eating animal beef, or think that maybe chicken is, the better thing, you get all sorts of different micronutrients from different sources. So red meat versus, chicken, you're getting different things in there. They look different, so you're getting different things. Do a little bit of research and looking on grass-fed beef. It has a higher concentration of short-chain fatty acids, which the body loves. We're geared to use short and medium-chain fatty acids. There's higher levels of micronutrients in grass-fed beef, and we're just talking about one source of saturated fats. The plant world has, some sources of this as well. Interesting about grass-fed beef, I didn't know this. I found that this was interesting. It has a higher level of conjugated linoleic acids, so CLA. And if you were to go to a health food store and look up weight loss and stuff like that, you could see supplements that are selling CLA. It's a fatty acid found in grass-fed beef that's been shown to decrease risk of cancer, decreasing body fat, improving insulin resistance. Interesting how we're doing all of that stuff by eating something that's a good source of saturated fat. And this is, studies are showing this, okay? So, and lowering inflammation by getting in this CLA. So, you can find this study cited in the article, but studies are showing that even a small amount of CLA can reduce tumors in the body, including breast, colon, lungs, skin, and stomach. So that's freaking awesome. The point is that we need to kind of rethink our idea that red meat is bad, saturated fat is bad, and fats in general are bad. Studies are showing that low-fat diets aren't really the solution, because in the end, really, it's inflammation that is making us sick. So cleaner foods, better sources of foods will lower inflammation. Better balance of fats, so balancing your omega-6s with your omega-3s will be less inflammation. Think about, it's interesting in the gut, how inflammation really kind of takes a hold. We'll talk about this more real quick. It's interesting, you think about this. This is how the body is designed. That in order to absorb fat-soluble micronutrients such as A, D, E, and K, you need fat in order to absorb these micronutrients. And so low-fat diets can lead to deficiencies in other micronutrients, which leads to other issues, hormonal imbalances, etc., etc., etc. The immune system, just a ton of stuff, metabolism, when we are off on A, D, E, and K. And that's just 4 of the thousands and thousands of micronutrients that we need. So 2 fats, though, that you do want to stay away from is rancid fat. So rancid meaning this is highly, highly processed, heated, bleached, and then just bleached because it tastes bad, etc., etc. So we're talking about canola oil, sunflower oil, soy oil from soybeans. That's kind of the highly, highly processed fats, and trans fats. Okay, so high heat, and that is from commercial baked goods and fried foods. So rancid fats are hard to digest and increase inflammation. So think about this inflammation, and like if your omega-6 and your omega-3 ratio is off, it's more in that, over the 4-to-1 ratio. Think about your guts on fire on the inside. So when we're eating this stuff, our intestines on the insides get inflamed, leading to leaky gut. And when this is inflamed, think about it's on fire on the inside. And then so your health overall from this inflammation is highly, highly affected, because all absorption of your food is done in the intestines. So if it's on fire, things aren't going to work optimally. There you go. So that's why they're saying now that inflammation is really the source of all illness. How you're getting into that state, are you eating too much trans fats? Are you eating out of balance, etc., etc.? Are you not eating enough nutrient dense foods, not enough vegetables, etc., etc., that are anti-inflammatory? The rancid fats, trans fats, are devoid of micronutrients, any nutrient value. They have been stripped away of all of that, and then preservatives such as BHA, BHT have been added to them. So trans fats, rancid fats, known to disrupt hormones, sex hormones, disrupt fertility in males and females, and dramatically increasing inflammation. And when inflammation goes up, all things go out of whack. So anyway, fats are good, okay? So real quick recap: saturated fats, unsaturated fats, both have a role, okay? Unsaturated fats, we have mono and poly unsaturated fats. Short chain, medium chain fatty acids, incredibly important. They go directly from the GI tract to the bloodstream. Quick, easy, easy. That's what the athlete needs. And then medium chain, we do need this for kind of fat reserves for later. If we're long distance endurance athletes, we do want some reserve, because your hormones that do everything are made from fat and cholesterol. Okay, Coach BK with BK Coaching and RMB Do Nutrition. If you have any questions, let us know. Having a great day.